So this was a project we did. Part of the presentation here is just going to be on a project that we did this year in the Grand Forks District. It was on Highway 17 and 81, which are both national highways. And there was PWL on this project as well. And there was several other special provisions also. We had, so this was a project contract was Knife River, and Lynette Stain was the project engineer on this project. And so this was really a nice project because it had the intelligent construction, a lot of intelligent construction things that we're using now with the IC or intelligent compaction on the rollers, and then the paver mounted thermal profiling as well. And had a few other things too. So is for those who are not really maybe familiar with the thermal camera, it basically it's right mounted on the paver, and it's taking pictures every square inch of what gets paved as far as the infrared temperature, surface temperature, and records it. And then we can go back and review all that in a software called Veda. This is the new generation camera that's just come out now too. So that's another version of it. One of the things that, of course, with all this data, as Ken was mentioning earlier, is that we want to be able to use it real time. And you know, one of the things that that's on the back of a paver right now, so that the paver operators can watch, is the actual profile coming out. And so if there's anything that they see that they, you know, segregation, then maybe they need to address it or things of that nature. We also had John, as Ken had mentioned earlier, came out and actually spent a couple of days with the DPS, rolling density meter, and be able to incorporate that data into the Veda software. Here's some of the data here, I believe. And so one of the things about the bottom area here is the DP, or the density shown by the DPS. And of course, as Ken mentioned, this was all continuous. It's not just a core here and there. It's all continuous across the whole thing. So one of the things it's very sensitive, as you can see, to the roller passes and temperatures as well. Here's a paver stop, for instance, that seems to be affecting it maybe a little more than usual. And a lot of times with these paver stops, as Ken's mentioned earlier, it kind of, if any length to them, it tends to break the rhythm of the roller passes. As you can see here, this is the breakdown roller. And you know, some of these things like you see here, it's really caused by the, you know, as you're going back and forth, the rollers are going back and forth, and they get done with that segment and they move up. Well, they don't want to miss any, so of course it gets overlapped, and that's what this is. But you can see it actually shows up on the density, which we expect it to do that. Here's another one, the same thing. You can kind of see that the densities from the DPS is showing, you know, a little bit more where the pavers are. Not a whole lot more. I mean, the difference between them may be 1 or 2%, but still, it's sensitive enough to know that. And one of the things about this is that I would think something like this would be really good for if you're doing PWL jobs or something that has to have a lot of uniformity involved too, so that you can keep, you know, your roller passes, you know, constant and things like. So here's just another one of those. Once again, these are a couple of projects that were done back a couple of years ago, actually. And same thing here. There's some more of it right there. You can kind of match it all up with these are a little bit different colors, as you can see on the densities, but you can see it's definitely sensitive to the roller passes. I don't have a lot of e-ticketing other than there was used on this job. It didn't really have any data to show However, I will say that this is going to be something that's going to be included with the Veda software eventually. Maybe, included in the software. I don't know if we'll be using it or not, but it's actually going to be included in the software. It's actually working on it right now to do that, getting that, and so I think that'll be interesting. It'll be able to display, right on Veda where the trucks were and everything. So this is Todd Mansell from the Caterpillar was up a couple of days or one day here on this project. And so this is a typical picture. He was taking it from the back of the paver with a thermal camera. And this is the next one right here. That's actually the thermal image of it. And so you can see those are really nice temperatures. That's really nice uniformity across the whole mat. And we really didn't know the time that we took this. But well, he knew from his camera what time it was, but we didn't know the station. But so I was able to go into the Veda program under a time filter, and you can take out, you can put in 2 minutes of time there on a certain day, and it'll display that 2 minutes or 1 minute. And so this was the area that was actually done, and you can see from it that it's pretty nice colors. I realize it's not all constant one, but it's within the 5 degrees or so. Here's another one I thought was really nice. Uniform temperatures across the map. And here once again is that same area, that area in Veda. This was just and I'll just have one slide here on the PWL. Of course, we're looking for uniformity and we're looking for good average densities. And this particular day, I thought these cores had a really good range, very low standard deviation and really nice numbers. And of course, they got the 105 or the extra 5% here because of that. We did some performance testing. We were fortunate enough. We got Arlene and I in the district here. There was some Materials and Research graciously purchased a ideal CT and an ideal CT machine to use, and it also has a fitting to do the rut test, the new rut test also. So this was Arlene here making some of the plugs. They're about 60 milliliters high, and you can make them in the gyratory, and you cure them for a certain amount of time, and then you can break them. And this is the rut test one here, as she's doing it, and let's see, it breaks it. Once it breaks it, this one, in case this is checking the susceptibility for rutting on a certain mix. And so then it displays it on the computer afterwards, your result. This is the CT, which is the crack testing part. And once again, it's the same thing, only you just have a different thing down here so that it puts it in a kind of a tension mode instead. This is some of the numbers we were getting, as far as, and these are index tests, they're not tests that you would use for, pavement design or anything, but it's just kind of good relative numbers. These are some of the numbers we were getting for that. So I think, so the last part of the presentation here, I just want to go over a few things that we kind of see from projects over the state, in the Veda. Now that we have Veda, we can kind of see a lot of things. And, if we got some issues, we can kind of go in there and see, what happened. So one of the things that, as Ken was talking about, was paver stops. And as you can see, once again here, we've got a paver stop. I don't have the time on here, but right around that paver stop, there wasn't as many passes. And of course, the mix cools off, and you see it show up on the density as well. with the DPS. This is another one I just put together. This was a 25-minute paver stop over to the left. And as you move right here, some reason or another, there was a little bit of break. Once the final rolling was done, there didn't seem to be as much there for about 50 feet up in here. And then the shoulder didn't get rolled in that area. And the temperatures, the roller temperatures, were cooler also in the area when they were rolling it. So it affects everything. Not only affects ride, it affects a lot of things. Here's one of the things that, and Ken touched on this already, was the the shoulders and the mat. We're getting great densities on the mat and the joints. And so, but the shoulders are out there too, and sometimes they're, if you have wide shoulders and you're paving, say 18 feet wide, I mean, that you might as well say that the third of the mat is shoulder, and it's only getting ordinary compaction. This is our ordinary compaction spec. I won't go over it completely here, but basically it's using the same equipment that we use for the compaction, or specified density, and we need at least a pass with the breakdown, and we need an intermediate rolling also that has to have some type of combination of a pneumatic roller and of course then the finish. And a lot of it has to do with compact it to tightly bound and shows no displacement under operation of the engineer. So these are things that are good inspection things to be watching out there, I think. I got a few, Ken had showed this one already, so I'm going to move on from that one. This is a DPS of that area. You can kind of see that this core up here that was just taken. John actually was running against the edge there, and you can see that there was a lot less density in those areas. And I remember when John was up here, he said that when he was running along the edge, he could see the raw data as being, it was going to be less. Ken had showed this one already. I do have a few more though, that we took some extra cores on some of the information cores on some of the jobs we had, and this is what we ended up with in some of them. And here's another one. Looks like about 2 passes there on that one. And once again, 86.9, 94.8 in the main line. Here's another one that had 3 passes on this one, which is kind of meets the ordinary compaction spec. It was a little bit more. So it's not just passes either. It's when, like, this is the temperature of the initial roller, whatever roller it is that hits it after the paver goes by. As you can see over to the left, and I've seen by observation as well, is that the first rollers that I've seen is that they go right for the joint. They start on the end of the, right by the joint, and pay attention to the joint right away on the breakdown roller, and then they move outward. And as you can see, if you look closely enough here, they're about every 6 feet, the temperature or the colors get a little bit darker, and that's meaning showing that its time has gone through now, and by the time they get on their next segment here on the main line, it starts to cool off. And finally at the shoulder areas out here, you're getting cooler yet. So sometimes it's not only less passes, it's less temperatures that's happening. This is just a kind of switching gears now. We on 32nd Avenue, we had and we talked earlier here about echelon paving. This was quite interesting. I thought it was a very good coordination from Knife River, how they put all this together. And it was at kind of right around 7 o'clock at night, but this traffic was, deliberately tried to start a little later, but there was still a lot of traffic, and it was near intersections and things like that. And I thought it went pretty good, actually. This is just a couple of, they actually went through the night and paved that job, and it was kind of interesting to watch the plant go in the evening once. usually out there in the daytime, but it was kind of nice to see how it worked in the nighttime. Of course, it's just a picture of the front end loaders loading all the different segments or the different stockpiles into the cold feed to go up the drum. Just lastly on joints, hopefully we're going to be able to, with all the compaction we have on our joints now, that we're going to be able to fix this stuff and not have it happen and start failing, 4 or 5 years before the actual pavement is failing. So, I think the notched wedges is helping a lot out there. And it seems like there's more and more that are getting them to help. And it's just the second pass. And one thing about this is you can see the joint is nearly horizontal now instead of kind of at a 45-degree angle. And if you could look closely here, you could see the joint. This is one from the notched wedge, so you can kind of see the joint itself, or the two layers there. So that is all I got.